Hero Motor numbers have finally come out. It looks like a very strong quarter for the company.
Oh, yes, it does. And I expect the stock to be on the upside tomorrow. All internals look good for Hero MotoCorp and much better than what the street was estimating. So it's a healthy 15% revenue growth that Hero MotoCorp has clocked in this quarter. The EBITDA is the most, heartening internal at 16% margins that the company has posted. It is better not only quarter on quarter, but not only year on year, but quarter on quarter as well. And the company has said that softer commodity prices have helped them, but they have undertaken a cost control activity over the last 6 to 8 months, and that's really helped them with their EBITDA margins quite well. You also have the profits that's gone up by 27%, and this is the first time in the history of Hero MotoCorp that they've crossed a threshold of 1,000 crores profit in one single quarter. So these are looking like very good numbers, but then the stock is also sitting closer to its 52-week high. So we also have Prakash Diwan, who joins in now of Altamount Capital. Prakash, there seems to be no flaw in these numbers at all, looking very robust with a 15% revenue growth and almost a 30% profit growth. How did you read into the numbers?
No, the numbers are definitely wow. There's no doubt, and especially such a large P&L. You keep on, making these kind of strides. It's commendable. But a couple of things that I just wanted to add, the profitability and the margin story needs to be seen with some sort of a headroom in terms of, going forward. I think it would start kind of diminishing a bit towards the last quarter of this fiscal, because post the LEAP program, which they initiated earlier, now they're looking at only cost related issues and not scale and efficiency, because that's already come in. And where they will start benefiting is if they line up a couple of new launches, which is missing as compared to, let's say, a Bajaj and even TVS. They've kind of fallen a bit on that. I think if that comes up, then you will probably see the story getting revved up again. But otherwise, had the numbers come out during the market hours, I'm sure the stock would have still made a march towards the 52-week high, or probably crossed that as well at some stage. But I'm quite optimistic about how things are looking up, given the festive season around the corner and general build-up that's happening on two-wheeler sales.
So, the EBITDA margins that the company has posted at 16.2% are the highest that the company has ever reported, Prakash. Do you think that things can get better from here? Because most of their cost control program benefits have already flown through over the last couple of quarters.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So this would be close to the peaking out of sorts. So at best, you would see the benefits come only till the last quarter of this financial year. Beyond that, they will have to reinvent themselves. And I think the area to work on is going to be newer models. Because the various price points, if you see, they're competing against the likes of Honda and Bajaj at various price points, not just one big player. And that's where, they will need to kind of give some sort of strength on the portfolio. The product mix is something which I still feel can do much better with a pedigree like this.
So I was just calculating the realizations as well. This time realizations per unit have fallen, but that's because they have a higher share of their low margin scooters that they're selling. So realizations have fallen to 42,750 rupees a unit versus 43,250 rupees a unit earlier. But I wanted your thoughts also on how to approach the stock from here, because it hit that 52-week high, or fresh highs of 3,700 in September. It came off a bit from there. Do you think there is valuation headroom, or do you expect a re-rating in the stock purely because the numbers are so good, and do you expect higher levels?
So not necessarily, the re-rating would not be led by these numbers. These numbers only reinforce the high valuation that the stock trades at, whatever, it's probably 18 times now. But my sense is it's going to be the next big trigger is going to be how they tackle the price points, as I was saying. See, scooters is a relatively new entry for them, because they had to compete with the Honda, with their erstwhile partners. The same way, in the higher end bikes, they have the Eichers and the Bajaj eating into that market or growing market share very rapidly. So my sense is that is what's going to be the next trigger, and I definitely feel on dips, this stock is definitely a buy, because it will get re-rated and has enough headroom to, even get PE expansion at some stage after a dip. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's in that 4,500 kind of a zone, let's say early calendar 17.
Okay, well, I also wanted to ask you about the Hero versus Bajaj play, because clearly for Hero it's working well, as they don't have too much of an export exposure, and most of the domestic market is picking up quite a bit. But I'm going to come to you in a bit. Before that, Mayuresh Joshi of Angel Broking is also with us. Mayuresh, solid set of numbers coming in from Hero MotoCorp, much better than what many analysts were forecasting. How did you read into the numbers?
No, it is a solid set of numbers, Sonia. As I see it, the net profit is much higher than what we had estimated. Similarly for the income figure, the volume growth more than less in line with what the estimates were, 16% growth. So largely, I think it's going to be a story in terms of how are they going to maintain their volume going forward. You might have seen a push through happening on the volume front because the festive season was around the corner. But Q3, hence, I think how the volume growth pans out is going to be extremely pertinent. So if they point out to a double-digit volume growth in the coming 2 quarters, plus maintaining that market leadership share, both in the economy and the executive segment where they are gaining market share, my own sense is that the numbers, then the street will re-rate probably Hero Moto. So I think the need to watch out the management commentary in terms of how the volume growth is expected to go ahead.
The management commentary, in fact, is quite good. I mean, at least in the press release, Pawan Munjal says, and I quote, "The second quarter of this fiscal has been a defining phase in the journey of our young brand. The highest ever volume sales during the quarter is a reiteration of the overwhelming customer preference of our products, and the launch of the Splendor iSmart and a couple of other launches is what has really boosted sentiment in this particular segment as well. The domestic market has seen a revival in the past 2 quarters due to above average monsoons and positive consumer sentiment, and the trend will continue, likely to result in double-digit growth for the industry this year." So Pawan Munjal is talking about a double-digit growth for the two-wheeler industry by the end of the year and reiterating that sort of guidance. On the stock, how are you positioned, Mayuresh? Because it's already up about 25-26% this year. Do you see more upside post these numbers?
So yes, the numbers were good, Sonia. So again, in terms of valuations, if you look at the mean and median valuations, almost 17.5 times forward earnings. So largely, I think, how are they going to maintain the EBITDA margins? Because the management had indicated a band of somewhere between 14 and 16%. And as you're pointing out, if they're pointing out to a double-digit volume growth, my own sense is that it would be a mix through the executive segment as well as the new scooter launches, which have come through and which have got accepted pretty well. Secondly, I think one should also understand that the input costs are going up slowly. So I think they need to also have demand realizations pick up in terms of volumes. That leverage picks up, the average selling price across their categories picks up. And though I think the benefit from the LEAP program is expected to be around 280 odd crores even for FY17, the ad spends are expected to go up and the R&D expenditure is expected to go up. So the EBITDA margins might stay in that range, but the leverage will get cleared on the balance sheet. So yes, I think I remain positive on the stock. So I think it's a whole rating from our side.
Okay, so both Mayuresh and Prakash Diwan remain positive on the stock. Prakash, before we wind down, between Hero and Bajaj, I mean, Bajaj hasn't reported numbers yet, but do you see Hero continue to have a leg up purely because of its domestic focus?
Actually, the leg up continues, and not just the domestic focus. Yes, that's been a big issue for Bajaj, I'm sure. But Sonia, the other advantage that Hero has is if fuel prices go up, let's say, from the bottom that we are at any stage, Hero is always a preferred brand when it comes to 2 choices. When you have a Bajaj standing and a Hero MotoCorp product standing, people go for that because there's a strong perception that goes with the Hero brand in terms of fuel efficiency. So, and today the spend is going to come from rural India, which is still fuel conscious, if not completely, insulated from that. So my sense is Hero does have that advantage. You will see a marked improvement in market share in the next 6 months post the festive season. So I'll definitely go in for with Hero.
Okay, on that note, we'll wrap up. Prakash and Mayuresh, thanks so much for joining us. So the sum and substance is that there are no complaints at all with these numbers. On all fronts, the numbers are much better than expected, and it justifies the kind of premium that the stock is trading at.
I don't want to jump the gun, but very quickly, Sonia, do you think with the festive season, with auto sales picking up, being better than what we would have expected over the last couple of months, would the next quarter or the coming quarter be even better?
Well, we don't know yet because there are some news reports or some channel checks indicating that the festive season has not been as great as what one would have thought, and that there are a lot of discounts, especially in some of the older products in the scooter segment, etc. So we'll have to wait and see. But for now, no discounts, new products. They have some variations as well, like the Splendor I Smart, etc. And all of that has led to a very good showing. So the stock could be up tomorrow.
Okay.